Remember Outlaw Star? Me neither. Actually, Outlaw Star was one of my favorite anime series growing up. And if you're as old as me, then there's a good chance that you also used to watch it on Toonami way back in the day. For me, it was like one of the greatest things I'd ever seen. I fell in love with that show. With the characters, with the story, with the awesome ships and guns and the setting. Everything, it was just incredible. It was mind-blowing at the time. And after all this time over the years, I've held it so highly in my mind in very high regard as one of my favorite all-time anime series. But you know what? It's funny, over the years, I forgot a lot about it. I could tell you the basic plot, I could tell you who the main characters were, and that was about it. My mind had gotten so fuzzy. So, I decided I needed to rewatch this thing and see, is it really as good as I remembered? Does it hold up after all this time? Well, yes and no, but largely yes. So, in this video I just wanted to talk a little bit about Outlaw Star, what it means to me, what I still love about it today, what might have been a little bit disappointing in hindsight, also some of the things I just learned about it. I didn't know that it was part of a greater extended universe of anime and manga. That blew my mind. I also didn't realize just how much it was censored on Toonami. Some of it was very obvious. We all know about the infamous banned episode and Melfina's clothing. There's a lot more than that, so in a way, I'm watching the series all the way through the way it was intended to be for the very first time, in all of its 90s glory. So, here we go. If you're not familiar with Outlaw Star, it's a show that came out in 1998 in Japan, was based on a manga, and it's a sci-fi anime. It follows Gene Starwind, an outlaw who's kind of this real headstrong, kind of cocky, confident guy, and his buddy slash business partner, Jim Hawkins, who is this 11-year-old boy, but he's like this computer whiz, this kind of mechanical genius, if you will, and they work together kind of as freelancers, and they are just talent for hire. They'll do anything for the money. They might be mercenaries one day, they might deliver cargo another day, or protect somebody on yet another day. Just doing odd jobs here and there, trying to make ends meet. Constantly having money problems throughout the entire series, just trying to scrape by and get that next job. One day they get mixed up with some space pirates, and they come into possession of this special spaceship, the Outlaw Star, hence the name of the show, and it also comes along with some precious cargo, Melfina, the android. She goes into this tube and she can kind of connect to the ship's systems and navigate, but everybody's after the ship, everybody's after Melfina, and thus everybody's after Gene Starwind, who is the captain of this, inherited or stolen ship, however you want to look at it. So there's all kinds of bad guys always chasing after them. They're trying to live their lives, they're trying to solve kind of the mystery of what makes this ship so special, and along the way they find out about the galactic ley line, which is some sort of mysterious treasure in space, this kind of fabled thing in space that everybody's looking after. They want to get rich, and they want to live good lives. Nobody knows for sure what this thing is until the end of the series, which I'm not going to tell you. The enemies in the show are really interesting. This is very much a sci-fi series. It's like an action sci-fi series with quite a bit of humor. Everything I love about anime, right? But there's also a bit of fantasy mixed in here. There's kind of magic users. Some of their enemies use like Tau magic. So you get this mix of like 90% sci-fi, 10% fantasy. And it's really cool. Some of the enemies, the villains in this series, they just look really cool. Their designs are pretty awesome. There's some cool fight scenes scattered throughout the episodes. Gene has this really cool pistol. It's like a very special antique weapon. It's called a caster gun. It shoots caster shells, which have like magical properties to them. They're like a lost technology. Nobody knows how to make them or exactly where they came from. But it's very cool, very unique. This whole setting is super unique, very creative. I love it. Even the spaceships are very unique in their own way. They have grappler ships, and these spaceships are equipped with like robotic arms so they can grab stuff and smash at things. This chair is making so much noise. And they can like lock arms with other spaceships and kind of wrestle. It's very, very cool, very different. Some of the enemies they run into actually become allies. As we see in the opening credits, so I'm not spoiling anything, they come across Aisha Clan, who is this cat girl. She can transform into a tiger. She's just super strong. She's got the strength of like 100 men. And very cool. She's just kind of like this bubbly, kind of loud, rambunctious personality. And then on the other side of the coin, you have Twilight Suzuka, who is this very cool, calm, like samurai lady, who's this kind of merciless killer, or so her reputation says. She very much just follows her interests, and she ends up being a good guy. She joins the crew, and just because she says, like, oh, you guys are interesting, I think I'll follow you, I think I'll join you. After she's been trying to kill Jean this whole time. Again, these are not spoilers. These are main characters from the opening credits, you can see that. So it's just a really fun adventure, fun space adventure. All the characters are so lovable. Melfina too, I think Melfina's character has a ton of depth. She's this android, and she doesn't really know where she came from or why she was created. So she has this whole kind of existential crisis the whole time where she's trying to figure out why she was made. What is she here for? She's not quite human. She's not quite robot. She doesn't know how she fits in, or, you know, she's really trying to figure out her life. Just great characters, great cast of characters. Even some of the villains are really, really well done too. Like I say, some of the villains become heroes and you love them. Others are just pure evil. Some of them are pretty interesting, and you see some of their backstory and just their character development. And in some cases, it's a little heartbreaking. I will say that. There is one particularly shocking episode where I can't say too much, but oh my goodness. Oh man, that episode just killed me inside a little bit. You just have to watch it, man. The characters are all so good in this show. Even the spaceship has a personality. The spaceship has an AI that talks to everybody, and it has little mechanical bits to it inside the ship with faces painted on, and the ship's a character of its own. Very, very cool, very fun. And just fun to see how these characters interact with each other, whether they're trying to kill each other, they're fighting, or they're acting like family. Very, very fun to watch. What did I not like this time around? To be honest, I liked pretty much everything this time around. Some of the episodes were more interesting than others. Some were a little slower than others. Some of them just were more episodic and didn't contribute as much to the overall story, so maybe it wouldn't matter too much if you missed a week here or there, but it was really enjoyable all the way through. I think I was just going into it with such high expectations and such strong feelings of nostalgia, because my expectations were way up here. Even the show is still way up here. They weren't all the way up there as I remembered it, but so yeah, some episodes were better than others. Some might have been a little slower, less interesting, but the other thing is just the quality of the animation. It does look a little bit dated, which is fine. The environments and the spaceships and everything, it looks amazing. Everything, the cityscapes and everything looks so cool. It really does. It holds up. The thing that's a little funky is like the characters themselves. Sometimes they're just drawn a little funny looking. There's real inconsistency there. You know, it didn't bother me. It's just instances like that that make it feel a little bit dated, especially when you consider that this came out in the same year as Cowboy Bebop. Now that's not a fair comparison because Cowboy Bebop was so revolutionary and just top quality animation wise, and it still stands the test of time and it looks amazing. And that's one of the reasons why it's so famous, is just because it looked so good. Nothing else at the time could compare, and so I shouldn't compare Outlaw Star, but they're two kind of similar sci-fi space animes that came out around the same time, so it's a little dated, but none of this is a big deal. I still really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend that you check it out as well. As I mentioned earlier, there were some things that I did not know about this series at the time, so it was based in the same universe as an 80s manga that only came out in Japan that roughly translates to Space Hero Story. Now, there are fan translations in English online, so you can check it out and read the original manga for yourself in English. And I haven't read it yet. I looked at a few pages and I was like, hey, this looks pretty cool. I gotta come back to this. Very similar art style as well. So it was that manga, then it was Outlaw Star, and then after Outlaw Star, they made another anime in the same universe called Angel Links, which I have yet to watch, but it actually features some of the same characters that appear, minor characters that appeared in Outlaw Star. There's an episode that features the Angel Links and two of the people who work for that organization, and those two people are characters in this spin-off Angel Links. So that's one I want to check out for sure. I had no idea about any of this, so I was excited to learn about all that. Finally, let's talk about censorship. I think we all know that Outlaw Star was heavily censored for Toonami. The obvious things I knew about back in the day, everybody talked about widely, were the band episode, which was the Hot Springs Planet Tenere, I think it's called. People dismiss that episode as being just a fan service episode. They go to this Hot Springs planet. There's a lot of nudity and kind of dirty jokes and gags and things like that. And the episode has a much more comedic, goofy tone to it than the rest of the series. But I wouldn't say that it doesn't do anything for the plot. I hear a lot of people say it doesn't do anything for the plot. That's not really true, because that episode, we find out about the history of Gene's very special gun, the caster gun that he has, and the ammo. The reason they go to this Hot Springs planet is because Gene's seeking ammunition before they go on their last mission. And so he finds out where they come from. He hears that there are people who are still able to make ammo. And so that's a good bit of plot right there, I think. I think it's not as bad as people say. I think most of that episode could be shown on Adult Swim today. They would just have to mess with a couple of scenes there. But so there's that episode that was banned altogether. And the other obvious one was Melfina's clothing. You know, Melfina doesn't wear any clothing for half of the series when she's in the spaceship. She's in this tube. Everything's covered up though. She's like covering herself. But Toonami actually had clothes digitally added. Those were the obvious changes. But really there was a lot more that I just didn't know about. Lots of dialogue that was cut out. Lots of other little scenes here and there. We didn't quite see the extent of Gene's relationship with Hilda, because they had to cut out some of those more intimate scenes. And just adult jokes and references. Some of Gene's more kind of despicable behavior too. Yeah, there was a lot of grown-up stuff in here that we just didn't see. And this was not a shonen manga. This was not a shonen anime. This was aimed at an older audience. This is, I think, what they call a seinen anime, aimed at young men rather than boys. So, yeah, lots of adult stuff in here that I just didn't see back then. And if you only watch this on Toonami, you don't know about all this stuff. So, yeah, it's a totally different experience, and one I really did enjoy it. It's a mature series with lots of great action, funny humor, and very lovable characters, and it also has one of my favorite opening theme songs of any anime series. I love that song, always have, always will. I have no more words, but Outlaw Star, classic anime. Would it be in my top 10 today? Only for the nostalgia, but anything in my top 10 is going to be heavily influenced by nostalgia. I'm just going to say that right now. Yeah, I still love it to death. Highly recommend it. I watched it on Hulu. You can watch it wherever you want to, and yeah, just check it out. Outlaw Star. I need to get some sleep, I think. I'm losing it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on Outlaw Star. And thank you so much for watching today. I will see you next time after I've gotten some more sleep. Take care.